What's up, guys? DrFeelGood here, back again with another video prescription. And today I want to talk about Doom for the Nintendo Switch. First up, let me say that I can truly appreciate this port. I give them credit for putting this game to the Switch with it looking as good as it does, running as good as it does. I can also appreciate the way they broke the game up, in which the cart comes with the entire offline campaign and you have the option to download the multiplayer if you care about that sort of thing. I can truly appreciate those two qualities with regard to the Switch port of Doom. But unfortunately, I have no interest in this game. Let me explain why. Quite simply, the main reason is because it has no motion or gyro controls. That is the biggest reason. Look, just like the Wii U, the Switch has a few unique features up its sleeves. It really does. Outside of the portability, you have the Joy-Cons with the HD rumble, and plus the Pro Controller Joy-Cons have, implemented gyro and motion controls. One of these features has been around since 2006 if we're talking strictly about consoles. With the Wii and motion controls, especially for shooters. The Wii had shooters. The Wii, I believe, had 3 or 4 Call of Duty titles on it, all of which incorporated or took advantage of motion controls. Now, I know not all games took advantage of this control scheme, but more than a few did. But to me, there is absolutely no excuse. I'm sorry. I'm not going to accept that. I'm not saying every single type of shooter has to have motion controls, but to me, we're well beyond the prom date here. We're well beyond that when it comes to motion control implementation in gaming today. I'm sorry. Technically, a mouse is a type of motion control. Truly it is. So if you want to get technical, motion controls have been around for decades. But, I just won't accept that. Splatoon is my favorite shooter of all time, but I own probably about 8 to 10 different iterations of Call of Duty. And my favorite one is Black Ops 2 on the Wii U, due to it implementing motion controls. Alright? But the Wii U proved that a shooter can be done very well, and it can be much more fun and enticing with motion controls. Call of Duty Ghosts incorporated, although I didn't buy that game, but it had motion controls. So, in the Wii, when it comes to Conduit, please, motion controls were amazing, and if you did not use them, you got your ass handed to you. But nah, I'm not. At this point, there's no excuse. I can appreciate the parody, but I appreciate optimization more. Not every game has to have gyro, but I do believe every shooter should, at the very least, on the Switch, offer motion controls as an option. At the very least, as an option. If the game has to run if it has to run at a lower frame rate than the other versions, at the very least, make it stand out with exclusive features, motion controls, and if they did not implement it, the HD rumble. 30 frames per second, that's fine. A lot of shooters were 30 frames per second. Battlefield, before I think 4 came out, was always 30 frames per second, at least on consoles. I believe Call of Duty on the Wii was 30 frames per second, and that game worked out very well. Destiny and Halo are 30 frames per second. That's fine, so long as you incorporate motion controls, especially for a system that supports it. Motion is basically half of the Switch's unique features. Being a shooter fan, I can thoroughly understand the difference and importance of frame rate. But there are more than a few out there that run at 30 frames per second and are fun. So with the frame rate, although it's a slight letdown, it's not a deal breaker. And of course, the one thing I mentioned in the beginning, the cartridge only includes the campaign. Let's be honest, you don't really need a higher frame rate for the single player as opposed to the multiplayer. Let's be honest about that. Do I want 60 frames per second in the entire game? Yes, but you don't really need 60 frames per second when you're playing the campaign. You really don't. I know some of you are thinking like, well, 30 frames per second is not about, who you're fighting, but it's about the overall feel. I understand 60 frames per second is a lot more fluid and allows for a quicker reaction, things like that. But it's not necessary in a single player campaign of a shooter. I'm not saying it wouldn't be great. I'm just saying it's not necessary. That's all. And as I said before, I can definitely appreciate them giving you the option of downloading the online multiplayer. However, if that is the case, I feel that this game should therefore cost no more than about $40, since the multiplayer, which by the way is 9 gigabytes, will more than likely require the purchase of an SD card, of a micro SD card. Me personally, I don't have that issue, as I have more than enough memory on my Switch alone to download the online multiplayer, mainly because I bought most of my games physical. Any game that's available physically, I purchase it physically. But I'm sure there are more than a few people that won't have enough memory available. So to me, the fact that this game potentially requires you, and it's not just there's a 10% chance, there's pretty much a 50-50 chance that you're going to need a micro SD card to download the multiplayer. So with that being said, that's in a sense an additional cost, a potential additional cost. Now you can say all you want that, well, you can get a 64 gigabyte micro SD card for, $20 or, $10. I don't care. There's still an additional cost that some people will likely have to incur in order to play the game online. So to me, you guys wanted to opt for, I guess, a 16 gigabyte card, which barely holds the campaign. That's fine. That was your choice. But since my game is being split up, you don't really have the right to charge me full price. Even though the online multiplayer is a free download, you can't charge me full price. You can't. I'm just saying. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section. And as I always say, keep it gaming.